On episode 631 of the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast, we bring back Lyn Lindbergh and discuss recovering from setbacks and overcoming obstacles. You can find the full show notes for this episode at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/631. Have you decided you're ready to make a change? To reclaim your health and fitness, the 40 Plus Fitness Podcast is here for you. Each week, we dive deep into health and fitness topics that affect those of us over 40. I'm Coach Allen. I'm an NASM certified personal trainer with specializations in corrective exercise, behavior change, performance enhancement, and fitness nutrition. A Precision Nutrition Level 1 coach, a FAI certified functional age-linked specialist, and an OTA Level 2 online trainer. Each week, I'm joined by our co-host, Coach Rachel. She is an NASM certified personal trainer and a RRCA Level 1 run coach. Let us be your coaches as you find your way on your health and fitness journey. All right, let's go. Today, we're talking about recovering from setbacks and overcoming obstacles. One of the keys to success in weight loss and improving your health is having a tribe to support you and hold you accountable. If you're struggling, I strongly suggest you listen to this episode. But if you're really serious about making something happen, not just read, listen, or talk about it, then I'd like you to join us at the 10,000 Club. This is a community of like-minded people all looking to lose weight and improve our health. And it's free to join. Learn more at 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/club. Get the support and accountability you need to overcome the obstacles life has thrown in the way. 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/club. Hey, Raz, how are things?
Good, Alan. How are you today?
I'm doing all right. Recovering, feeling okay.
Good.
Ready to make my comeback.
Nice. Yeah, sorry about your rib. My goodness.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
No. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh, geez.
Try not to laugh for 3 weeks so it can heal a little bit. But yeah, no, it's coming around, and I'm about to start getting right back into it. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, good to hear.
And then how are things up there?
Good. It's maple syrup season.
Uh-oh.
So, yep. So it's about to get pretty busy. My husband just tapped a couple of trees last night. He's going to do a couple more today. We've already got a few gallons of sap collected. It's cold now, so it's going to shut down for a minute. But yeah, we'll start to collecting, and we'll probably start boiling not this weekend, but next weekend. So it's about to get busy here.
About to get busy, yeah.
In a delicious kind of way.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy myself. I actually had set a challenge for myself. I wanted to get on more podcasts. I wanted to have an opportunity and not bore you guys with me saying the same basic things, but it's been really good. I want to be on more podcasts. And so I'm starting to actually apply to get on other podcasts, and the messaging, and presenting, I have to ask a question. And so what it's doing is really fascinating because it's helping me take my messaging and really refine it to a point where, it makes it just lines up a lot clearer versus I have thoughts in my head. They all make sense to me.
In your head, yeah.
How don't you guys get this stuff? Here, let me draw you a map. But no, and so it's been really good for that. So if you're interested in hearing me on other podcasts or learning about other podcasts, if you go to 40plusfitness.com/media. Okay, so 40plusfitness.com/media. I'm going to be listing those out there with little summaries of what the show was about and the different podcasts that I'm on. And then other media appearances. I was, featured in an article on CNN. This podcast, we were listed in the top 20 of the for the Interview Valet of podcasts, and so of health and fitness podcasts. So that's a big honor. They're like huge. The big agency, they're the ones that you go to when you want to start trying to get on the big podcasts. And so there's been times where they've reached out to me and I've had guests on for them. I haven't worked with them in a long, long time, but maybe that's how it went, maybe that's why I'm in. I don't know. But anyway, they're a really good agency. They work with the best people, and they have top talent, and they reach out to the best podcasts. And so for them to honor us like that, I really do feel good about. So
Yeah.
those types of things, and now as they start to happen, I'm going to be putting those on this page, and
Awesome.
it kind of works it's going to work a little bit like a blog. It's basically, that's the software I'm using. So you'll go in, when you go to that media page, you just see a list of that, see them and see what they're generally about.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can click onto the page and go forward and actually listen to the podcast on wherever they want me to send you to do that. So it'll be pretty cool. And you'll be able to see all those places, all those things that we're doing outside of this podcast. So if you get bored between now and next Tuesday, there you go. Lots of things to listen to. And if I keep doing them, then it's lots and lots of opportunities for us to meet new people, get new people involved with us here at this podcast. So win, win, win all the way around.
Yay. That's awesome. Well, congratulations. That sounds really fun.
All right. And speaking of other podcasts, because I was on Lyn's podcast not long ago, I'm not sure if this one's going to go live before hers does, or hers is going to go live before ours does. But either way, we're going to talk to Lyn Lindbergh. You ready to?
Sure.
All right. Our guest today is the creator of Couch to Active, an award-winning author and the host of the Couch to Active podcast. Her mission is to help everyone conquer their inner couch potato. Dealing with chronic health issues herself, she knows what it takes to recover from setbacks. She knows this is a tough topic, so she faces it with humor and a very clear view of the realities we're all facing. She's a certified personal trainer, a certified group fitness instructor, and a certified Pilates instructor. Her degree in education and 20 years in the corporate grind give her unique skills to help her clients work through setbacks and overcome obstacles. With no further ado, here's Lyn Lindbergh. Lyn, welcome back to 40 Plus Fitness.
Hey, I can't believe it's been 5 years. It's so good to be back, Alan.
It has almost been 5 years. You were on episode 374.
Wow.
And as we're recording this, the episode that went out this week was 628. And this is going to be episode 631. So
nice.
Yeah, there's a gap there.
Yeah, all good. All good. Oh my gosh, it's great to be back and good to see you. And I'm amazed. It's like, it seems like there's no way it's been 5 years. Yeah. So you don't look a day older. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So
yeah, it might have something to do with moving to the Caribbean and living a less stressed life. But
yeah. Not jealous. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, the interesting thing is you had published a book and I had published a book, and both of us were vying for the same awards and fighting those battles.
We were. You're right. Uh-huh.
But the base point was we had both come a long way. We'd learned a lot, and we were sharing a lot. 5 years later, we're still doing this, guys. And the average personal trainer stays in this industry for about 2 years. So Lyn here is one of the veterans that's been down the fiery path with her clients. And she's been down the fiery path herself.
Yes.
And that's what I want to get into today. I had posted a question on the Facebook group. If you're interested in the group, guys, go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group. This will take you to the group. We have conversations all the time. I get feedback from you all the time. And I just love being on there. And I share clips and things like that, video clips, things you won't get anywhere else. So go check that out. But this was a question I posted, and I was very serious when I put it out there that I really wanted to know what you needed to know. And one of the topics that kept coming up was setbacks. And the reason I thought, okay, yes, I absolutely have to cover setbacks is because they're a part of this thing. We say fitness is a journey, health is a journey, and this is the exact reason. Is sometimes the journey it's not straight line forward and then up and up and up. There's downs that happen, and it's how you react to those downs that will determine how you succeed going forward. So that's why I wanted to bring Lyn on here, because she's lived the lessons of setbacks. And it's not that she and I won't ever have setbacks again, but we both have, and so it's just that thing. I think this will be a great conversation. So Lyn, I did want to start this. there's been a lot that's happened for you. You've done half marathons. You've done some hard things. You were super, super fit. And we talked a day ago, and it's like, you bought in. You were like, I'm a fitness queen. This is my life.
Oh yeah.
I'm exercising every day. I'm doing this thing every day. I'm living the example.
Yep.
And then
go
something
ahead.
Something happened, but I'll let you tell the story.
Oh, okay. I love it. We got an episode on setbacks, so we're going to bring Lyn on. Yeah. So,
well, Lyn volunteered to come on, so it was just, hey, I'm reading your story, and I'm like, okay, here's because this is important because I think a lot of people go on these social media platforms, and I'm the perfect person, and I live the perfect life, and we know people are doing that, and it's great. We're all having good lives or great lives or terrible lives, but we're all going to say on Facebook or Instagram, I'm living the best life. And if you're a personal trainer, there's this extra layer of, well, you've got to walk the walk and talk the talk. Right. Yeah. And so when we start to struggle with our own health, what do we do? It's a whack. Yeah. It's a whack in the head. It's like, okay, I can't do what I was doing before and expect the same results because that's not how my body's working right now.
My body just won't do it. Yeah, it is. Okay. So I'll just dive in and tell a little bit of my story, and Alan, you ask questions along the way. Sound good?
Yeah, that's a plan.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
That was our plan coming into this, but yeah.
Yes. So So when we met 5 years ago, it was, I would say, at one of my pinnacles. I had just written the book Couch to Active. It had won 6 literary awards. I could do half marathons. I wasn't the fastest. I mean, I'm couch to active for all, I'm not, let's be an Olympian. My heart's really around helping folks just getting back into it. But I had a lifetime of relatively good health. And I would say great health, biking 200 miles, triathlons, did 6 triathlons. And so I went in writing the book Couch to Active with as much humility as I could muster, but I had never really had physical fitness challenges, like not really, really big ones. And as I was writing the epilogue of the book in Couch to Active, I actually was at one of the world's biggest fitness conventions. I was part of a group of 100 fitness influencers who were there with their media passes and, getting, inside tracks to all kinds of things. And during that convention, I was writing the epilogue to the book. And in the epilogue, I talked about a lot of my frustrations with the industry as a whole, which I know, Alan, you share a lot of them. And in the epilogue, I said the words, "It's so frustrating. I even have a migraine." And what I didn't know is that was actually the beginning of my health falling apart. So I went from super lean, super fit, published this book on health and fitness motivation, to my health fell apart. And I got 3 diagnoses. I'm really public with them. One of them was I was misdiagnosed with asthma, and I was missing 30% of my lung function. Huge, like aerobics, pretty much impossible. I got a collagenous colitis diagnosis. And if you know the word colitis at all, that's never a good day. And then I also got a diagnosis of fibromyalgia. So I was feeling like I had 15 hours of sleep every single day. And when I woke up, I felt like I had a fever, but I didn't. My whole body ached 24/7. And I had to nap in the afternoon. And it was awful. It was really awful. And it was literally within a couple months of the book being published. And then with all of that, I started gaining weight. And here's the thing that was so crazy about that time is because when I gained the weight, my body, when I was sick, my body was telling me, "Eat, Lyn, you must eat." And I was hungry all the time. And there was nothing I could do I knew the things, I knew how to do the things. I just couldn't do the things. And I was certified in this stuff. And I did like everything I could, but I gained and gained. And if numbers are a trigger for y'all, I'm going to spout some numbers here, but I gained between 50 and 60 pounds, going from a super fit, super lean to gaining 50 or 60 pounds. And yeah, I know if you've gained weight, it's always like 50 or 60-ish, somewhere in there, depending on, how much salt I had, we know that.
Well, but you stop stepping on the scale. It's like, I don't want pictures. I don't want to be on the scale. I don't want any reminder that this is what's going on. We're actually trying to fool ourselves.
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing is I did step on the scale. I did, but it slowly kept going up and up. And it felt like there was nothing I could do to stop this train. And in 2020, when everybody else gained their weight, I was able actually to stop the weight gain and hold it for all of 2020. And then I had a really stressed out couple of years and gained another 15 pounds. And so here I am running a fitness company in so much pain, hurting all the time, friends coming to me, all concerned, like, oh, Lyn, I've never seen you like this before. Are you okay? And what they're actually saying is, wow, you got fat. What happened? Yeah, it was hard. It was really, really hard. And there is a piece of me, I hate saying this out loud, but there is a piece of me that even though I know body positivity, love myself, love my body, even with all of that, I hit the peak of my weight right around COVID. And secretly, I was glad I wasn't out in public as much. Is that not crazy?
Well,
yeah.
Yes and no, but I mean, I get it because there were periods where I'm like, there's a picture that was taken of me right before I started my journey, and it was a Christmas picture. Mm-hmm. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, I don't even understand why I got in front of the camera, because I know how I felt at that period of time. But Tammy was with me and we had just started dating, we'd been dating for a while, but kind of our first event was this formal Christmas party. And that we took the picture, and, even though I can look at the face and I can say, okay, I got a smile on, but that was not authentic. That was not me. Yeah. That was not what I was feeling inside.
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally. And it's just interesting that balance of, I know in my head, my worth and my worthiness has nothing to do with my meat suit, is what people call it, who I am as a human. But I was really shocked at how much, even though I'd done all that work ahead of time, how just that cultural expectations around it was brutal. And then the diagnoses were hard. Fibromyalgia, man, if you know somebody who has fibromyalgia, never tell them it's all in their head. Never tell them they're crazy. ever.
Guys, advice: don't never say that to a woman at all. Never say that to a woman.
That's a good advice overall. You're crazy. It doesn't. Yeah, there's nothing to be won with that.
Yeah.
And so I actually got also stuck in this trap where 24/7, my body hurt. I'm like, do I have arthritis? Am I dying? What do I get? Do I have all these diseases? I had a team of doctors, a naturopath, and a nutritionist. And I would recommend get the nutritionist, get the naturopath, get the regular doctor, get the specialist, like the whole team, thousands of dollars out of pocket in addition to what my insurance would pay. Even if I couldn't afford it, it was like, I just got to get my life back because I didn't like where it was. During that time, alcohol was one thing that would make my fibromyalgia pain go away. And I knew that did not help my weight loss goals. I knew it didn't help my health goals, but I had a couple of years where it wasn't crazy, but I was drinking a half a bottle of wine every single night because that was when I could feel normal. I had a couple of hours. I didn't even feel buzzed from it. It just made my body feel normal. And so that wasn't helping either. Yeah. So, man, yeah, it's, and then the colitis, holy cow. If you've ever dealt with colitis, and women, we don't talk about colitis. And I tell you, when you're having issues with your intestines, It is not a good day. It is not a good day. And I mean, I spent, oh my gosh, I had a period of 4 months where it was so bad. And Ellen, you'd like tamper me down if I'm sharing, if it's TMI. I had a period about 4 months where it was so bad. I literally had to make sure I was at least no more than 2 minutes from a bathroom for 4 months, like that bad. And it was so bad that here I am in my mid 40s, not scheduled for a colonoscopy yet, but I go to a GI doctor and I'm like, GI doctor, like, you need to help me. I need my life back. I am literally, everything I eat goes straight through me and I'm still gaining weight. What the heck? And after a long discussion of no dignity whatsoever, asking all kinds of questions around everything intestines, and I just answered them all as truthfully as I could, because even though it's a terrible topic, I want to say especially for women, but I don't think so. I think all genders struggle.
Well, with men, the problem with us is not that we won't talk about it. It's that we don't want to acknowledge it at all.
Yeah.
And so we will avoid it. We'll be looking there. Oh, there's some blood in the toilet. I'll have to go Google that at some point. And then we see it again, like, I guess I do need to go Google that. It could be cancer. It could be nothing. It could be that you had beets for dinner last night.
I was going to say, it could be it's the beets. Definitely the beets.
There was a beet on my salad. I know there was a beet on my salad.
Honey, why do you like eating beets so much? I'm like, this makes me feel better.
Yeah. But so it's not that we won't talk about it. We just won't acknowledge that we're not immortal, because we still like to think we're 25 years old and going to live forever. And it is that realization that you may not. And if you're not doing something about it, it's probably getting worse.
Yep. It's and not knowing is worse than knowing, even if the answer is scary. And so when I went to my GI doctor, he was fantastic, and he rolled with, like, I had to have humor around it all because that was the only way I could scrap up any dignity. And then he says, ma'am, I'm really sorry. I know you're young, but I think we need to do a colonoscopy. And I looked at him, I said, thank God, like, whatever you got to do, I was that desperate. That did give me an answer for my intestines, a genetic thing that I had, and some specific things I need to do around diet to help. That really helped. The nutritionist helped very much, helping me dial in how to eat. The naturopath helped because I did gut biome testing. Yes, poop test. And they figured out some gut biome things that were off and then put me on a regimen that balanced that out. So, like, all these things, finally, I was able to get my health to a point where I felt stronger. But I was also at a really stressed out time in my life, going through a divorce. If you're in the middle of a huge, huge, huge stressful situation in your life, losing weight in the middle of that, I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't. And I'm certified in this. That's the thing. That's the crazy mind thing. It's like, I'm certified. Like, I know the things.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. So the weight I had for about 1.5 years, it took me to gain it. I held on to it for about 3 years. Yeah, pretty much the whole, like, since you and I last talked. And then finally got my life to a place where it wasn't stressed out all the time. Hired a therapist, been working with her for almost 2 years now, really working on mindset, stress management. Like, holy cow, I'm a twice divorced woman, empty nester, living alone. The only thing I don't have is 10 cats, like, I totally fit into that box now.
Yeah.
No. I like my freedom. I'm loving my freedom. No cats. I love cats, but no, I want to travel. And it's like, wow, how'd I get here? And what does it mean? And just a real time of digging deep. And through all of that, it wasn't like I'm this, like, holier than thou, look at me, I let go of my ego and I'm so humble. It was like, I had no choice. I had so many things publicly that I was facing that I couldn't pretend. And so with the help of that whole team and the therapist, a stack of self-help books, a mile high, hundreds of hours of amazing podcasts. And since you guys are podcast listeners, because you're listening to this, it's awesome. So you can type in any topic and there's hundreds of hours of podcasts on that topic. All of that finally got me to a place where I thought, you know what? I think I can do it. I think I can do this. I think I can start losing the weight. I knew how to do it. I knew what to do. I knew I had to have a huge level of accountability. I needed the bar high on accountability so I couldn't lose track of this thing. So I did something that I don't necessarily recommend, but it worked really well for me. I used my podcast. I got on my podcast a year ago, April, not quite a year ago. And I said, all right, you guys, this is exactly what I weigh. And I gave the number. And then I said, I'm on a weight loss journey, but I want to gain strength. I want to gain speed. I don't want to lose my muscle mass because I've got this extra weight on me. I've got some good muscle under all this fat. And I want to do it right, but I need massive accountability. So this is day one. I'm starting and I'm going to come back every week and report out the nitty gritty. And I did. I came onto that podcast and I was like, all right, week one done. Here's the calories I ate. Here's what the scale says now. Here's the Wendy's hamburger that I ate. And yes, it was marvelous. And I did not eat the French fries. And yes, I was kind of sad about not eating the French fries, but then I was proud of myself. I was like, here's the self-talk going on. Here's the holy cow. Am I even going to be able to do this? And, and here's the, oh my gosh, like this was a frustrating week. And I'm just angry. I want this to be no big deal. Did all of that for about 25 weeks. And now I'm in the maintenance phase. I'm down 40 pounds of that 50. And I have more muscle, more lean mass on me now than I did before. So I'm happy with my weight now. And now it's just a matter of, do I want to play with it more or not? But that podcast that I don't say, like, I'm not telling you if you want to lose weight, the way you do it is, do a podcast. Like, no. But get a level of accountability, be open, be real, be raw. And I was just amazed at how people came to me and said, oh my gosh, me too. And you get it. And my clients base started growing. And almost all my new clients were like, oh my gosh, I've been listening to your podcast and you're so real. You get it. And like, you had one glass of wine, but it was actually 3 glasses of wine. And then you regretted doing it and the whole mental process around it. And it's just, it's real. It's really real. Yeah.
Now, there are about 4 things that you said there that I want to go back to, because I think each one of these is kind of a critical aspect of recovering from a setback. I think the first one is that and I want people to understand this, that doctors have a very specific approach. Okay. If this, then that. So there's a symptom, there's supposed to be a solution. Yep. But when you come at them with 3 different solution problems, the different symptoms they're seeing have so much overlap that it might take them a little while to figure out exactly what's going on with you. And you just have to have the patience and the perseverance to keep doing it.
Yep. Yes.
The second one was this. The second one was that you got a team around you.
Yes.
You didn't just say, hey, I'm the expert in weight loss, so I'm just going to do it. You went out and got the right doctors, you got the nutritionist, you got a therapist, you got the people in your life. You managed it, but you went in with this is my team.
Yep.
I'm going to get answers, and then I'm going to apply what I know and fix this. So you set up a team.
Yeah.
The third bit was this. You believed in yourself and your ability to do this.
Very interesting. I never thought of that before, but yes, I did believe. Yeah. Huh.
Because
okay.
So many people go into weight loss and they've struggled. And then they just stop believing in themselves. But you knew, I was like, okay, if I just get some things sorted here, I know there's a better day. I know there's a better place in front of me. I just have to keep going. I have to have that perseverance to just keep going. And that comes from believing. And then the fourth piece that I got, and no, you don't have to start a podcast, but you please don't start a podcast, but I mean, you can, but just realize that the better answer is not about the podcast. That's not what this is about. What you did was you put your goals and aspirations in front of people.
Yep.
And it is really hard to ignore something you write down and you tell someone about. So if you have a goal that's really, really important for you, something you really know you need to do for yourself and the people around you, write it down and share it with everyone you care about. Tell them you need accountability. Tell them you need their support. Tell them what you're doing. And then the consistency principle in your brain will kick in. And so you have patience, you have belief, you have a team, and now you have accountability. And putting those all together kind of built a platform for you to make this happen. And there's maybe one more that I want to talk about. This did not happen in 30 days.
No.
This was 25 weeks. Yes, this was 25 weeks of doing and doing and doing.
Yep.
Not always successful. There's a burger in here or this and there, but it was real and you were owning it. And what I believe that was happening there is you began to tell your body how much you care about it.
Yeah.
And you were treating it differently. And it responded by healing and then helping you lose the weight that you needed to lose.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right. It was, with bringing the doctor thing and the team, that was in the moment. I felt like I was throwing darts randomly at a wall, hoping something would stick. And so I would say I definitely had no grandmaster, like, oh, look at me, I have my whole team. How wonderful, amazing, and privileged this is. It was more like, I'm really trying not to have an accident in my pants. I need a GI to help fix this because this is embarrassing. Like, and that kind of thing. And okay, the regular doctor's helping, but it's not helping enough. So what the heck? Let's try naturopath and just see what they have. One thing in that was I took the attitude that I was my own physician. And all of this team, they were my advisory board. So if you're a business person like I am, that'll make a whole lot of sense. Like I'm the business owner of Lyn, and all these other people, they sit on my advisory board. And I researched and learned and researched and worked with the doctors as much as I could. So that was a big piece of it too.
Yeah.
So
beyond what we've already talked about with regards to recovering from a setback, are there any bits and pieces of advice you could give someone who's had a setback and just they're looking at this mountain in front of them saying, I want to get back up there, and it just looks so high so far?
Besides all the different platitudes we hear all the time of like, you're worthy, you're worth it, you can do this, love yourself, and life is beautiful, like that kind of like, it on some level it's great, on another level it kind of like makes me throw up a little bit, like like, yes, let's just turn on the happy switch and it'll all be great. No attitude here at all, can you tell?
I don't know, I like my happy switch, but that's just me.
okay, good. You tell me where mine is. I don't have a happy switch. I have a really good Pollyanna veneer that comes on all the time. That's my toxic trait. But no happy switch. Okay, back to the question. The biggest aha for me as somebody who's literally certified in this stuff was that it was unrealistic for me to think that in the time of 3 active inflamed chronic illnesses that I could lose weight. I know on paper, technically I could, but I couldn't. During that time when my weight was gaining, and then the 3 years when I couldn't get it off, something in my body, I mentioned this earlier, was hungry. It had to eat. I was craving things. I literally, during that time of 3 years of maintaining my weight, I used more grit and self-discipline around food than I had ever used in my whole life. I said no to all the desserts. I said no to dessert when it was my birthday. Now, granted, I was drinking a half a bottle of wine every day. I wasn't doing everything right, but the mental space was tough. Then this was my big aha. When I was able to heal and get these chronic illnesses managed, and then get myself into a space where I wasn't so stressed out post divorce, get my mind right to a space where I had a more positive outlook on life. And I tend to be pretty positive, but really do that work. That's when the magic happened. That's when I was able to lose the weight, and the journey of losing the weight in a healthy way that made me stronger required less grit and self-discipline. And I didn't let myself go hungry the whole time. I'm like, I am not going to let myself go hungry. I'm doing this in a sustainable way. Less grit and self-discipline than when I was gaining the weight and when I was maintaining that high weight. And that was really surprising. I don't know. What do you think of that, Alan? Because that's
no, it's a concept that I've been paying a lot of attention to in the last year, because you see this all the time, and you'll see the post, and they're like, well, I'm only eating 1,000 calories a day, and I'm on the elliptical, and I'm burning 2,100 calories, and that's what the formula says, but I'm still gaining weight, and I don't understand it, and I'm so mad, and I'm angry, and and I'm like, well, stop.
Yeah.
Like, okay, your body is telling you it is scared poopless. Your body is telling you something is wrong because you've scared it, and not giving it enough food, it's scared, and so it's not going to let you lose the weight. It is scared to death. And so what I think works for people is if you could take a moment and take the step back and say, okay, well, what does this tell my body? And so if I'm dealing with a chronic disease, an illness I've got to work through, and I try to grit through that thing without healing it first, my body's going to say, no, dude, fix this, and it doesn't want you trying to lose weight. It doesn't want you doing anything else that's scary. And so we have to deal with that thing first. And so this is the way I look at it is, okay, food is information, movement is information, stress is information, sleep is information, and the way you talk to yourself and the beliefs that you're carrying is information. And if any of those are telling your body, be afraid, you're not safe, it's not going to respond the way you want it to. It's going to do its thing. And many times, yes, it's just going to throw a word out there. The word is more. You eat something and it's not enough nutrition and it's not serving your body is just going to scream more. Now, a lot of us think that's more Girl Scout cookies, but that's not what it's saying. It's saying, give me more nutrition. Show me there's plenty of food. So if we're trying to cut back our food when we're trying to heal, that's seldom going to work. So just say, okay, look, I got to prioritize these things so that I can convince my body that I'm going to be well. I'm going to take care of you. I care about you. And so that's why I say the happy switch part of it is just really, if you let stress and all these other things happen and you don't do the self-care, you're telling your body something's wrong, and you're not giving it the information that it to be safe. And so that's where I kind of take it is you could try to do all these things, and sometimes you can get in your car, just fly. You could just sprint and get things done. But for you, it seems like you had to solve a few basic things first. And then after that, the sprint was possible. But trying to sprint before you solve those problems is like trying to drive a car that's missing one tire. And it's just not going to work. It's not going to go fast, and it's not going to end well. And so we have to step up and say, okay, what's the biggest things that I have to deal with today? And some of it might be, I'm going through a divorce and I'm really, really stressed, and I just want this, or I'm going through this pain and the wine helps. And he's like, I could stop the wine, but then I've got the pain, so I can't exercise. And so which one of those things is going to make me feel the best, is going to make my body feel safe? And the reality is, you have to solve the problem, the underlying problem. So you don't have to do the wine. So then you can stop the wine and then you can do the exercise because you're not in pain. And so I only say that to say everything we do, everything we think, everything we say, everything we eat is telling your body how to operate. And it tries to talk back to us, but sometimes it even gets the signals wrong because what in the heck is going on? If I had one illness like migraines, well, okay, I can kind of go to a doctor and kind of work with that. But you got this end hurting, you got that end hurting, you got this going on.
Oh my gosh.
So all this information that's coming into your body saying, we're crashing here. Don't tell me you want to lose weight.
Yeah, exactly. You need to feed me. I need more nutrition. I need something. Take care of me.
Take care of me. I need more. And so we've got to take that step back and prioritize and say, okay, what's the most critical thing going on here? I would say if the pain's keeping you from moving the way you want to, that might be it. It might be, I can't leave the house because I got this problem. If I don't solve that problem, I can't do anything else for myself. I have to solve this problem. And when I do, then I can do the next one. And so that's what I think is that our bodies are these finely tuned instruments with no eyes to the outside world. They just know what's going on inside.
They know what's happening.
Yeah. And they're like, hey, you're crashing here. So let's just eat enough. Let's just lay around. We love that couch anyway. So hey, you paid a lot for that couch. So we're going to use it. And
you're gonna sleep. You're gonna sleep. Yeah. And I don't want folks to get the misnomer too. And I don't think we've said this at all, but the idea of like, oh, look at her. She just lost her 40 pounds and now, magic, it's all great. One of the things I did that I'm really proud of is textbook wise, I knew it had to be sustainable. So I was dogged at figuring out what are the meals that I really like to eat that are healthy for me, revamping my recipe book, redoing the kind of groceries I buy so that the things I eat, I actually really love and crave. And then once I got into what we call maintenance, life's not perfect. And when folks say the 80-20 rule of eating, there really is some truth to that for sure. And it has been for me too. And so the way I eat works really well for me. I haven't had to eliminate any food groups, thankfully. But about a couple months into maintenance, I had another stressful thing come up. I had some weird blood work come up. All my blood work was good. In fact, my doctor was like, wow, look at you. Your triglycerides are half of what they used to be. And I was like, yeah, I'm so proud of myself. But I had one that showed possible pancreatic cancer. And if you know that, and it's in my family, my dad was diagnosed and gone in 4 months. And so when that came up, it freaked me out. And then I had to do all that mindset work of like, okay, don't worry about drama that doesn't exist yet. But I'm like, but this happened to my dad. I was actually like there holding his hand when he died, and then, got the ultrasound, got the MRI. So I went through this like 6-week process of just crossing my fingers and hoping my ticket wasn't up, because part of me was like, crud, I'm like, I just figured life out. Like, come on, I want at least 5 more years, During that time, when I was waiting for those test results, there was a lot of fasting that went with those tests. So I had 1 week where I had like 3 days where I fasted. I was hungry and I hadn't fueled enough from that fasting. And I was stressed about the test results. And I was really busy all day. And so I went with that triple threat to the grocery store, bought a couple things I wouldn't normally buy. And I get in the car, and before I even leave the parking lot, I wolf down the whole bagel. And I know you're like thinking like, oh, that's really cute. She ate a bagel. Who cares? But then before I got home, 5-minute drive, I had eaten the 2 donuts I also impulsively bought also. Yeah. So bagel, 2 donuts. By the time I got my groceries unpacked, I had eaten the entire hoagie roll that I bought too. 1,000 calories of nutritionally bankrupt, highly processed crud. And I was fine. I was totally fine. It was totally emotional eating. Was it eating quote unquote bad food? Yeah. Should I have done it? Technically, no. But because my eating overall is really, really good, that one, like, oh, I meant these were like treats to eat over a week. I just ate it in 15 minutes. It was fine. It was totally fine. I had to tell myself it was fine. I had to remind myself it was fine.
Yeah.
But it's reality. I think there is no utopia at the end of this, rainbow here. It's just one day at a time.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the core of all of this is, none of us knows what tomorrow's going to bring for our health and fitness.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the core reason why you hear people say it's a journey. And maybe you get mad at that. It's like, I don't want this to be a journey. I want this.
Yeah.
I want the math on MyFitnessPal to work. And it tells me in 6 weeks, I'm going to lose 15 pounds if I keep eating this way. And I eat that way for 6 weeks. And I didn't lose the 15 pounds. And so we're going to go through this and we're going to have these trials and tribulations. There's going to be the ups and downs. And all you can really work toward is trying to make the trend better.
Yeah, exactly.
There's things we control. There's things we don't control. We just want to make the trend overall better. So setbacks are not this kind of one-off thing. They're going to keep happening. They're going to be there. There're going to be moments where, and it could be one shopping trip setback and how you deal with it, or it could be an illness setback, or like with me, I broke a rib about a week and a half ago. I don't know if you've noticed, I squeezed myself as I'm doing this recording, but I broke a rib and I keep re-injuring it because I haven't been able to sit still and just not do anything for the last 2 weeks. So it's been fun. I can't even hardly breathe sometimes.
Fun.
But so
that sounds like an acronym for something else. So.
but please don't make me laugh. But no, it's
sorry.
It's all right. It's all right.
Okay.
Not at least not a big deep belly laugh.
Yeah.
I can giggle, but the laughs they're a little bit. But it's just that thing of knowing. Okay, well, why did this happen? Well, it happened because I was stupid. I was looking at my phone trying to catch an Uber thinking I'm going to have to message them because I was 5 minutes. I thought I could get there. There was going to be 5 minutes. They showed up in 2. And so I'm like, they're there and I'm supposed to be there and I'm not going to get there when I'm supposed to. So I want to message them. I'm trying to find it and message and I'm walking and I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at my phone. I trip. Boom. I'm on the ground with a broken rib. Yeah. And I just,
Oh, that's so lame. I'm so sorry.
It was a silly, stupid accident that happened.
Yeah.
And, I just blame my klutzness and gravity just collided. And then, the ground and my rib collided. But that said, okay, what does this mean? Well, it means one, I have to heal the rib before I can start lifting again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have to give myself I have to have self-compassion and self-love.
Yes.
And the positive switch, happy switch, whatever we want to call it, and just say, this will pass. I've broken ribs before. I know the process. I know how it feels. I just had to be careful with it for just a few days, let it heal enough that I don't re-fracture it, and I'll be fine. And so, it's just, I only say that because I think so many people expect that straight line solution. And there will be times when you'll see it. It'll be amazing when you're doing that straight line thing. You're in your Ferrari and you're just hauling down the highway and like, this is great. And then there's times when your life is not cooperating with that and you're not making that ground. In fact, you're losing ground and it's frustrating, but you have to get past that frustration and believe in yourself and know that you can get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's one of the things is when knowing you can get there and that self-compassion piece, and especially with chronic illness and just the stories I have with my chronic illness, dealing with it, a lot of my clients have chronic illness. And one of the things that's really hard to do is, okay, what if you have a chronic illness that's very likely here to stay? That's a whole nother level. And that self-compassion piece just becomes so important because when you're in a space of like, gosh, maybe I never actually will be able to jog again in the rest of my life. That's not me, thankfully. But I had a couple of years where I was like, the fibromyalgia, I thought maybe I will hurt forever. And there are meds for fibromyalgia, and that was part of my journey. I got on an SSNRI, and it helped my fibro, but it also made me feel really weird. I didn't like it. And so the withdrawal process of this med was scary. It took me like 6 weeks. And I had about a week and a half during the withdrawal of the med where I felt like a crazy lady. And like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is terrible. I feel like I'm going to die. Everything feels so dark and I don't know why. And I mean, it was, yeah. So that compassion. Sorry, that was a long way of saying that compassion piece. It's hard, but it's so important.
Well, one of the things that I thought related to this that I think you have a particular insight to is that you work with clients that, for all intents and purposes, that could give up, and no one would feel bad and say, "Oh, well, I understand why you're not doing these things," because they're vision impaired, and exercising when you're vision impaired, it's just not always available to you. I've done a good bit of work with clients that are vision impaired, and as a trainer, I love the challenge of it because I have to take a step back and think, okay, here's an exercise, and I want to help this person learn how to do this exercise that they can do at home safely, and it's going to help them a lot with their balance and mobility and strength. And so I was like, how do I write this out? Because you can't show them a video and say, do it like this guy or do it like me.
That's what we say. We say when you're working with blind and visually impaired, do it like this. This is a swear word. You don't say this. Yep.
And so, so the core of it is, you have to be able to describe what something feels like, where parts of your body are relative to each other. And you have to teach patience and self-compassion with a part of that, because this will be more challenging for them than that. But what my core point of it is that this obstacle, because it is an obstacle, is something that can be overcome. And often we come up to the obstacle, and the obstacle becomes the setback, because we're like, well, of course I can't do those things. And I think it's really just because we haven't opened ourselves up. And that's why I used the word when you were talking before. What came to my mind was believe. Is this obstacle bigger than me? Can you talk a little bit about working yourself through obstacles?
I have always been a real problem solver kind of person. And I'd like to say I've had more than my fair share of hurdles I have to jump in my life. And so I feel I've been really fortunate that I've always had the attitude of, I got to pick myself up by my own bootstraps. I got to do this. I don't have family in the area. I mean, I have family that loves me, but they're, not in the area. Single mom for a decade, working single mom, just all those things. And I think I just get in this mindset of like, what's the other alternative? I don't want to go there. I don't want to give up on myself. I'm never going to give up on myself. And if you've got an attitude that says, I'm not going to give up, I'm not going to throw my hands up in the air and be like, oh, well, okay, I guess this is it. I'm just going to, continue to not try anymore, because why try? We may have periods of time where we do that, but I think just that dogged never giving up. And I feel like that's not a real solid answer, but that's really what
it is. It is. I think each of us has to take that and understand that it's really hard to answer this question, for one, because your obstacle, not only can your obstacle be different than my obstacle, all your background and upbringing could be very different. And you may have had some obstacles that really just knocked you off course, and you never really felt like you got back to anything. And so that is gonna, and there are gonna be obstacles. It's like, okay, if someone really, really has a chronic illness, there may be some things they just cannot do.
Yeah.
So, that
you have to make peace with, or you are just banging your head on a wall. Yeah.
Part of how I got involved with the visually impaired and sightless was Diane Bergeron. And so she came on the podcast. You can go look her up on the podcast. She came on the first time. She was training for an Ironman. Now, an Ironman, okay, you think about, well, what a marathon is. You think about swimming for like 3 or 5 miles. I don't even know how far it is. And that, which, I just drowned, so I wouldn't even have to do the rest of it.
Yeah.
But, and then they bicycle for like 120 miles, and then run. So it's like all
and
this
then
stuff.
Run a marathon.
It's like incredible. Yeah. It's I was never that fit that I felt like, okay, I could have done that. But she was training for it, and she was capable, and she was and yes, there were helpers and things. She had a team she had to put together to make this happen. The first time she tried, she didn't make it. So she kept trying, and she came back again, and she did do it.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Now, so what I loved about her story was, okay, here's an obstacle that me being sighted my whole life, I just couldn't even wrap my mind around how I would see that obstacle, pardon the pun, but that obstacle in front of me, and then saying, how scary is it to run into space? How scary is it to ride a bicycle into space?
Yeah.
That's my interpretation of what it would feel like is I'm doing these things not with my eyes closed, because I could always open my eyes the instant I got scared, but just the knowledge that, okay, I'm moving pretty quickly here on this bicycle, and I'm not totally in control of my future. And so that bravery of looking at an obstacle and saying, I am bigger than this, when it's a huge obstacle. So everybody's going to have different obstacles. They are just there, part of life. We have to deal with them. But how you approach an obstacle and how you set your mind to it is really going to define your success rate with those. Big or little or whatever,
And one thing that I've found, asking that question of like, how do you reach someone who's just so frustrated? And they're like, okay, yeah, Lyn, that's great. Yeah, you did it. It was hard for years. You did it. Or, folks who are blind do amazing things. Like, okay, but when people are like, but you don't get me. This is hard. I'm frustrated. I do not see the light at the end of the tunnel. One thing I found that's a super helpful response a lot of times is the fact that you're really frustrated about it tells me at your core, you haven't given up. And that's where we start. Because if you had totally given up and you don't care, you're not thinking about it anymore, that's a much harder place to start with. So the fact that you're frustrated means you value this, and there's probably a spark there to be found to help. So,
Lyn, I define wellness as being the healthiest, fittest, and happiest you can be. What are 3 strategies or tactics to get and stay well?
Oh man, I could be here all day.
3.
I think one of okay.
Some of them will come with a 4th, but no, I'm going to hold you to a solid 3. Okay.
I'm going to give one. I'm going to give one. It all really is with getting your mind right. Really getting to know who you are, where you want to go in this world. Really look at yourself, your worth, your worthiness. Getting that in place, getting the skills to deal with who you want to be. That's really the cornerstone that's going to make everything else work. Because I guarantee you, anybody who really thinks about who they are and what they want to do in this world, the health and wellness follows. And so I say, just work on getting your mind right.
Excellent. Lyn, if someone wanted to learn more about you and everything Couch to Active, where would you like for me to send them?
Yeah, just send them over to Couch to Active. It's couchtoactive.com. We got some freebies there, one on the homepage, a couple more hidden behind some other pages. So surf around, see what you can find.
Excellent. Well, thank you for coming back and being a part of 40 Plus Fitness again.
Oh, good to see you, Alan.
You too, Lyn. Welcome back, Raz.
Hey, Alan. Oh my gosh, what a wonderful conversation with Lyn about setbacks. I know we haven't really talked about this in great detail in the past, but this was so important. And actually, it's helpful for me. I'm facing a setback right now and literally and figuratively looking at another one in the near future. So, I mean, listening to other people's story about how they recognize and overcome these little issues that come up, it's sometimes big issues. This is so helpful. I think all of our listeners will really get a lot out of this episode.
Yeah, there were a few key things. One is I did put this in the Facebook group. And so if you go to 40plusfitnesspodcast.com/group, that's a link to our Facebook group. I just asked, what do you want me to talk about?
Wow.
And this was one of the topics. Setbacks was one that not only got mentioned, but a lot of people liked and responded that this was something that was important because we all deal with it. We deal with it all the time. I have my broken rib, and
yes,
you have the issues you're dealing with your pancreas,
my thyroid.
Thyroid. Wrong one.
Yes, close, but yeah,
wrong gland. But yeah, it's like so we're all dealing with stuff, and we're gonna have setbacks, and we're gonna have obstacles. And so I just thought that since Lyn was so gracious to be so vulnerable and share what she's gone through, that's to me, that's inspiring to have someone like her to step up and say, okay, look, here's what you do. And again, she knew what, the thing is, we're trainers. We're supposed to look a certain way, act a certain way, be a certain way. You see it mostly on Instagram all the time as, okay, look, I'm a cute little guy, and I've got the 21-inch waist, and always had that. But that's not real life. That's the make-believe life of social media. And that's not how our lives actually work. And so you sit there and say, well, I'm not anything because I'm not what they are. Well, you've lost the battle. We're not all going to be that way. And so again, it's a good story of how Lyn got vulnerable, went out to her tribe and said, okay, here I am, and I'm not happy with this, and I'm ready to change. And I've got the right mindset, and I put the right things in place. She knew she needed accountability. You knew she needed something big and scary in front of her. So being vulnerable with people and having accountability were two key drivers that helped her be successful. Now, are those the drivers that you need? I don't know.
Right.
The accountability is probably part of it, but because I think we all need that. But the other side of it is what's holding you back? What's the thing that's going to keep you from being successful? And what do you need to do? Because it's not weight, it's not whatever that you have to do. What do you need to do so that you can be successful?
Yeah.
And that's a big core of getting started. Everybody's like, just get started. I'm like, sometimes you just need to take the time to know yourself. You talked earlier, like you have to approach it your way, right?
I do. Yep. I've been through a couple of setbacks, and I had an ankle injury. Right now I'm dealing with a thyroid disorder, which is a metabolic situation. And, I can't I'm a run coach, Alan. I can't run very much. I can, just not very much. And so, it's about recognizing what the issue is and taking like you said, take inventory, what can you do right now? You've got a rib injury, so you've got a limited range of motion, but there are things that you can do. Maybe you work more on your food and your meal prepping. Hopefully walking is okay.
It hasn't been.
No.
That's the whole point, is breathing. Breathing hurt. Walking makes you breathe. It's really hard to walk if you're not breathing.
That's true.
But one thing you mentioned earlier when we were talking about this that I think was really important was this is not just about the physical.
No, it's a big mental challenge, actually. I have been so frustrated, and I think Lyn used that word too. It's very frustrating to face a setback, and she had a pretty serious one with her chronic illness and things that were causing her to gain the weight. And for me, I need a minute to have a pity party. I'll fully admit it. And I actually recommend it to some of my clients, because you need to have an emotional coming to Jesus moment with what is happening in your life. Sure, it's absolutely frustrating, which might make you angry. For me, it makes me sad. And it's just a minute where you need to let all your emotions out. And then you need the mind shift. You have to say, okay, what now? And I call it a comeback. Who doesn't love a rags to riches story? The underdog that comes back from something really challenging. And we are that person. So whatever you're dealing with.
So instead of Rudy, it's Rachel.
Yes. I want to hear my name chanted. Yes. And chant it for yourself. It really does make a difference if you're your biggest cheerleader instead of your worst critic. But if you just have that mind shift change, that you're coming back. This is your comeback story. So assess where you are, what you're capable of doing now, and then build on that. It's, maybe you're going 2 steps backwards. Like, instead of training for an ultra this year, I'm training to run lower mileage and lift heavy. That's okay. I'll get to higher mileage later. But this is my comeback story. This is where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, the first part you were talking about, that very much replicates the stages of grief.
Yes.
And so we're grieving. We're in a sense grieving, and that's okay. You need to get through that, and then when you're past it and you finish the grief stage, it's like, okay, now I come back, and what does that look like? You get to decide, and you get to decide how you do it. But do the things that are necessary to be motivated, to have your mindset right, and then boom, make it happen.
And like in Lyn's story, she needed the accountability of her peers. I think that is so helpful too, because at least the people in my running club, we're always out to encourage each other. We are just rooting for each other. We totally empathize. We are very compassionate when somebody's injured, and we root for the comeback. And that feels good. And it's really helpful and very motivating if you or me are facing a comeback situation.
Absolutely.
Love it. Right. Great.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's do this again next week.
You betcha.
All right. I'll talk to you then.
Thanks, Alan. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Next time on the 40 Plus Fitness podcast, we meet Colleen Cashman and discuss her book, It's Not About the Alcohol. Until then, have a happy and healthy week.